even undermining the Postal Service in the run-up to an election that's going to be dependent on mail-in ballots so people don't get sick.
Let's get more analysis now from Peter Mathews, who joins us from Los Angeles. He's a professor of political science at Cypress College in California. Peter, thanks so much for your time. Now, just listening there to Barack Obama, is he correct? Is the current U.S. government trying to stop people from voting?
It certainly seems that way, and I do believe they're trying to do that because the fact is that if everyone votes, the President Trump cannot win because of the numbers. The numbers have grown in the direction of Democrats and Joe Biden, and Trump is trying to find any way he can to suppress the vote, and so is his party, but especially him when he talks about postponing the election, which has never been done in our history. Even during World War II, during the Civil War, during the Depression, we still voted. And by the way, mail-in voting is a very accurate way of voting because the states that use it, Washington State and Oregon, actually have a very high turnout, voter turnout, and there's no fraud. But Trump is raising this specter of fraud in order to ensure that he can call, if he loses the election, I should say when he loses, then he could say, well, you know what, there was a fraudulent election, I'm not going to accept it. He's preparing people, his own supporters, to see the possibility of him staying in office. And I hope he doesn't try to stay in office after the election is over and decided.
So, Peter, in April, Joe Biden said that Trump would actually call for a delay to November's election. Now, at the time that Biden said that, Trump said, no way, he wouldn't do this. But we know, of course, Trump is a president who does seem prone to changing his narrative. So what are the reasons behind Trump's latest suggestion? What's the political tactic here?
I'm not sure there's too much of a tactic, but he goes back and forth. But perhaps if there's a tactic, it is a tactic of like to prepare his voters, his supporters for an eventual loss and to claim that it was fraudulent, like he did, even when he won in 2016, he said there was fraud and that many illegal immigrants voted, which was completely ridiculous. There was no evidence for that. But he wanted to say that he lost the popular vote because of illegal voters. And he's bringing up that same theme once again. But this time, the good chances are really big that he will probably lose this election because the numbers are very staggeringly in favor of the other side. And so are the swing states as well. So that's what he's trying to do, I think.
And possibly a distraction from the economy and what's happening with the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S. at the moment. But where does this all leave Trump in his party standing, considering that a lot of Republicans have come out to say this election will not be delayed and will go ahead in November?
Yes, they have, including Mitch McConnell, that Senate Majority Leader. He came out and said, no, the election will go on. And other Republicans have also. So it leaves Mr. Trump out on the limb with some of his supporters, the 32% or 36% that support him in the country. They're with him on this, perhaps. But most Republican leaders and other people in America are totally against delaying this election. There's no need for it. Mail voting would be quite safe, and it will protect us from coronavirus and make sure everyone who wants to vote can vote safely. And yet he's going to be out on a limb by himself, basically, with some of his supporters, of course, on the ground. That's not enough to win, though.
Well, you've been talking a lot about Trump. You don't think that he will actually win November's election. I mean, many people didn't think that he'd win in 2016. Everything that's happened in the last 4 years and just the last 4 months alone may just change that. Do you think what President Trump has been saying today and in the last few days how is that going to influence voters and his supporter base?
I think it's going to harden the two sides. It's going to keep his base more fired up to vote. And it's going to get the other people who are against Trump to say this is a terrible situation. This president is not serious about running this country in a democratic way, and they have to vote against him. And so they're going to go out and vote or vote by mail against him. It's going to solidify the two sides, and there won't be too many people in the middle anymore after this particular stunt, because this has never been done. No other president has ever questioned whether or not he would leave office if the election was over. Even this time, Mr. Trump said, I cannot guarantee I'll accept the results. He said it back in 2016 also. And that is something that no other president has ever said in the history of this country, as far as we know. Not publicly, anyway. And he wouldn't want to call into question the legitimacy of the actual process. And that's what he's doing, actually, at this point.
It's going to be a very interesting few months in North America. Thank you so much. Peter Mathews, live to us there from Los Angeles.